Good afternoon.
Afternoon, how are you, madam?
I'm okay. How? No, I'm not fine. I'm unwell today.
I'm doing okay. I'm trying.
Mm. Who are you with, George?
I'm home, so I'm alone.
You're alone. Okay. Cedric, hello.
How are you, madam?
Today I'm not fine.
Oh, what's wrong?
Yeah, I'm not feeling okay. Who are you with there?
I'm with Gift, Jeremiah, and Ezra is coming.
Okay.
Mm,
Can someone try to call Dina and the friends?
alright.
Yeah, I don't want them to miss two classes. On Friday they didn't attend. Is anyone calling them?
Yes, madam.
Okay. And they'll join us midway. We'll start. So last time we looked at the process of communication, isn't it? Which is the communication process. So we said we have the source, the encoding, the message, the medium, the channel, the recipient, who can also be called an audience when you have more than one person, also a receiver. Then we also have the decoding stage, we have the feedback, then we have motivation, and lastly, we talked about context. And we said today we're going to look at barriers to effective communication. So, what is a barrier? First of all, let's look at the word barrier. Since we already know what communication is, then what is a barrier? Anyone? George, what's a barrier? George, are you there?
Yes, madam. Yes.
What do you know? What is a barrier?
Mm. Alright. Let me think. I'll answer that first. Give me some mercy, some seconds.
Okay. As George is thinking, gift, what is a barrier?
I'm still thinking, madam.
Mm, as the sun hit today that they're not thinking very fast.
Madam, I think a barrier is something that in that communication not taking place. It
Thank,
affects communication.
thank you. There is someone who already thought. Okay. So things that cause people not to communicate as intended are called barriers to communication. A communication barrier is anything that hinders communication. And there are a lot of them. They are not exhaustible. And if we name them, there are so many barriers to effective communication. But what we have to know is they vary from one place to another. A communication barrier in one area may not necessarily be a barrier in another place. So communication barriers are classified in those that sender audience oriented, meaning for those which the sender or receiver is to blame. So these are where maybe I'm talking to you, so the fault will be between me and you, the students. So it's between the sender and the audience, or the sender and the receiver of the message. Then we have and those the source of which is the environment as outside, sorry. And those which the source is the environment outside the communication cycle. For example, here where we are learning online, maybe the network becomes bad. That's outside my control or your control. Or maybe like at the campus there, the learning campus, if you notice, there's always some noise because of the cars, and maybe a truck is moving and I'm saying something, you miss it. Already that is caused by something outside you and me, isn't it? But it's still a communication barrier. Okay, so let's look at some examples of communication barriers. So we have one we call distortion. This is the one I said I was going to do an exercise. Unfortunately, we are not in a physical class, but I'll try. If I remember, the next time we'll have a physical class, we can try to demonstrate distortion. So what is distortion? Distortion is failure to reflect the true nature of the idea to be communicated. It can occur at either the encoding or decoding stage. So it can occur when you're at the thinking stage. Remember, the encoding is where you're thinking of what, after you've thought of a message, now you're thinking of how to deliver that message. So maybe you haven't thought through properly, or you haven't got it correctly on how that message should be delivered as you are thinking, or maybe at the interpretation stage, which is the decoding stage. So at the encoding stage, it is failure to put the idea to be communicated in a form suitable for sending. So you're trying to put an idea, but that idea, you don't make it understandable to your students. It's when you hear people say, you didn't understand today's lesson, that teacher has a problem. No, they just did not put what they wanted to send to you into a correct form or a suitable form. Then at the decoding stage is the failure to interpret the meaning of the message intended by the sender. So if you're sending a message and you fail to I send a message to you, but you fail to interpret the message, it means that's the decoding stage, and that's where the communication has a barrier. And this one mostly is common, because I can send a message to somebody, then they don't understand me, or I don't put that message in a very good way. Or maybe when you're angry, you know, you'll not think of how to say something. You say the first words that come to your mind, isn't it? I'm sure we've all done, or some of you have done that before, where you just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Then later on, that's when you go like, I shouldn't have said that. Has anyone done that?
Yes, madam.
So you didn't think through so much, you just ended up giving the message as it is, a raw message. Same way you thought at the beginning, that's how you just send it. You don't think through the message that you want to send. But how do you overcome such a barrier? So overcoming such a barrier depends on the cause of the barrier. If the barrier is caused by understanding or appreciating the true nature of the idea, like if the barrier is caused by the person who is sending the message, then they need to improve on that. But if the barrier is caused by the person who's interpreting, they also have to know how to interpret the message that was sent. So the sender must take efforts to understand the message properly, you know. Equally, whatever has caused distortion at the decoding stage must be dealt with. Whatever it is that made someone not to communicate or to interpret, effectively, that barrier has to be looked into. Why has this person failed to interpret the message correctly? You have to think of that as the receiver of the message. Are we okay with distortion?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So the second barrier is called inadequate communication skills. Inadequate communication skills. So this refers to the inability to express ideas clearly in writing or speech in language suitable to the intended purpose and audience of the communication. It is also the inability to read not only words but also interpret signs and symbols of all kinds that are presented in a communication exchange. So, if you are not able to express yourself clearly, say the idea that you want to send or communicate it properly to the next person. Maybe you don't know how to write proper English, as they say. Your grammar is terrible. It means you don't have the needed skills to communicate, which means your skills are already inadequate to communicate or to pass the message to another person. So now, or to the person that is intended or the audience, for instance, a classroom setup like this one, you know. So sometimes maybe someone writes to you. Remember the communication process. You don't know who you're sending the message to, so you end up putting the message into writing. So the person you're writing to actually does not even know how to read. What happens next? They will not be able to understand. There's something very funny that we used to do to my grandfather. May his soul rest in peace. He passed on 2 years ago. He was very old. So at some point, he was a headmaster, very, very, very educated man. So now at this point, he was very old. His sight was a bit terrible. So now it's time when he receives the message, he can't read. He's unable to read the message that he has received. So what does he do? He'll call any of the grandchildren to read for him. So most of the times would read wrong things. If my auntie has sent money and she's saying she has sent this much, would say something different. Sometimes not even meaning to harm him, just to joke with him. You know how it is, the grandchildren grandpa relationship. So tell him, your children have only sent a 10 kwacha. Now what can you buy in a 10 kwacha? What do you mean? This is the message. So this person is not able to read. Those who are able to read now are sending a wrong message to the person. So how do you overcome this type of a barrier? So to overcome this barrier, one has to identify or know what exactly is responsible for the inadequacy in one's communication skills. Is it because of the inability to read? Is it because of the inability to interpret? Or why is someone failing to communicate? Are they not able to write or speak the language? Okay, fine. If you can't speak English, is there a possibility that I could use a local language that I'm conversant with instead of me to be forced to use English? So that's how you overcome this type of barrier. Are we okay so far?
Yes, madam.
Okay, so the third, this is the third, yeah? The third one is differences in perception. So differences in first of all, do we know the meaning of the word perception?
My part, I don't understand the term perception, but I've heard of it.
Okay. Cedric, you said you're with Gift and who else?
Gift, Jeremiah, Diana is now in, and Asia.
Okay. So Jeremiah, what do you know the meaning of the word perception?
I can just try what the
Please go ahead.
views.
Huh?
Views.
Views or views?
Yeah, views. Views.
Views. Okay. So perception, the differences in perception refers to the differences in ways we perceive things arising from differences in maybe nationalities, culture, our education background, occupation, your gender, your personality, or maybe personal experiences. So we perceive things, we look at things, or we view things the way we know them, isn't it? For instance, in Zambia, if you go in Addis Ababa, no, not Addis Ababa Road, Omelo Mumba Road. Omelo Mumba is in Long Acres. That's Long Acres. No, that's not Long Acres. That's Rhodes Park. There's a road called Omelo Mumba Road. The other one is that's Ndeke Hotel. Ndeke Hotel is near Long Acres. So when you go there, you find people dressed in bum shorts, very short, revealing clothing, crop tops, and they're just lined up there. So in other countries, it would represent something else. But in Zambia, the moment I pass there, the first thing I know, I'll say is, oh, these are sex workers, prostitutes, for lack of a better word, isn't it?
They are there for hookups, madam. That's how we view it.
Yeah, so they're business. They're there for that type of business, you know. That's our perception here as a nation because that's what happens. But maybe when you go to another nation, maybe they're there looking for decent jobs. Who knows? They're not there. But if a Zambian goes to a different country and sees that display, the first thing that will come to their mind is, oh, this is a hooker. Is looking for clients. They're displaying themselves here because they're looking for clients. Also in
But
culture,
madam,
yes.
it also depends on someone's mindset. Like
Some,
nowadays, the culture is changing, so a lot of people don't really take that as for hookups or what. It's just a dressing.
but you're dressed like that and you're standing at Omelo Mumba Road.
Like in my point of view, I don't think of that. For, like
Well,
at Unza, a lot of girls at Unza are dressed like that, and it's normal for
but they
them.
don't go to Omelo Mumba Road or to Long Acres Ndeke Hotel there.
Oh,
Do
yeah,
they?
I understand your point. Yeah, no.
They dress. Remember last time when we were talking about personal grooming and appearance, I said there's a dress code for every occasion,
Yes,
isn't it? So those
yes.
girls are just in their maybe leisure time. They're just maybe in what I call the lovers lane, what we would call the lovers lane in our time
The
at
lovers'
Unza.
lanes. Yeah, you talk about that. Yes.
Yeah, so they're just maybe roaming around there with their boyfriends and all. But now, if you go to Long Acres Ndeke Hotel, there, that area, you're displaying yourself. There's another one which used to be called Mayela in what's this
Kalingalin,
place? Kalingaringa,
Kalingalin.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Also you'd find such. So if you find someone dressed like that and in that place, you definitely imagine you find somebody you've been eyeing that I want to marry this girl. You find them there dressed the way the girls around there are dressed. Even if she's just passing, what would be your first thought?
Kalingalinga, that area was definitely for hookups, so it's normal. Yeah,
So you think that this girl is a hooker, isn't it?
yes.
So also the other aspect, that one I was talking about nationality, like in Zambia. So when you go to those places, we find people dressed like that. The first thing that will come to your mind is you're going to perceive them as prostitutes. Then culture. There are certain cultures that are acceptable in one country and not acceptable in another. For instance, I heard of a place where when you are marrying off your daughter as a father, you have to take her to bed first. Then that's when you can marry her off. That's more like preparing her for marriage. You, the biological father. But here in Zambia, we don't have such a culture. So, what are we going to perceive such a man? As a monster, isn't it? Someone who
Yes,
has
it
raped,
doesn't make sense.
someone who has raped their daughter. That would be our perception, you know. Also, there are in culture. Also, here in our Zambian culture, we always have certain perception like um coloreds are like this, Bembas are thieves, Lozis are stingy, Tongas are stingy. Which other perceptions have you heard of?
Bimbas are talkative.
Uh-huh.
Kaundes
Any
are job.
that's unfair. Okay, any other? Huh? Those who are with Cedric. What other perceptions have you heard of? Of course, they're just things how you view them. It's not like that's the truth.
Kalundas are short.
Oh wow. And every people think that for as long as you're a lozi, you eat a hopani. Whether you eat it or not, for as long as you're lozi, people just think you eat it. Okay, so also education plays a part on perception. You know, you perceive things. You perceive things according to your level of education. So today you are in your first year. The way you look at the world today, trust me, will be different by the time you'll be graduating, even just the time you'll be going back home. Your parents will notice some changes in you because you've gotten some level of education. It's influencing you in a certain way. There are certain things you did not know about, now you know about, and you'd love to practice them. Not bad, of course, good things, hopefully. You pick on good behavior and show that back at home. So, also occupation, also sex, personality, personal experiences. On personal experiences, what I would say is I'll perceive things on how, depending on what I've gone through in life. If maybe I'm staying in Zambia and I've been looking for a job and I don't get one, and for me I would just say in Zambia there are no jobs. You keep looking for jobs, there are no. But there's another person who just graduates straight from college and they get a job. They're going to say, in Zambia there are a lot of jobs. It's just people maybe don't know how to search for jobs, or they're not intelligent. That's what someone can say. Or maybe they're not smart enough. That's what is causing them to maybe have this type of causing them not to have a job all this while. Then how do you overcome such a barrier of differences in perception? So to overcome such a barrier, one must take note of the differences and the bridge and bridge the gap. So if you know that in a different country things happen in this way, not in the other way, you have to now suit into your new environment. Don't don't bring in what you know from Zambia to another country, because that's dangerous. So you just suit the environment you are in, and what you have to amend on, you do where you have to bridge the gap, you meet them halfway as well. Okay, the other one is jumping to conclusions. So the communication is hindered when you want to hear what you expect rather than what is actually being communicated. What is being communicated? It is putting words in another mouth, in the mouth of another person, the sender or the speaker. When you do this, you choose the message, you close the message away and miss it altogether. So jumping into conclusion is that thing where I'm sure we all do it. Someone is trying to say something, you just jump into the conversation and say, maybe I'm saying, so tomorrow, then someone finishes my sentence and says, we're going to have class. When what I actually mean to say, so tomorrow we're not going to have class. So you've already jumped into conclusion to say, oh, tomorrow we're going to have class. When what actually the other person wants to say is not that, it's something different. So you hear what you expect to hear, not what that person is actually saying. So you've just jumped into conclusion. So how do you overcome such a barrier? So to overcome a barrier of jumping to conclusion, you have to be open-minded and allow the sender to communicate his or her point of view before your turn comes to say something. You should do that even before you do agree with even if you don't agree with what the sender is saying. So even if you don't like what the other person is saying, just let them finish talking, hear them out. That's when now you go back to interpreting what they're saying and see whether or not you agree with what they're saying. Okay, we have another one called stereotyping. Stereotyping. So this one will also apply some of the examples we applied on perception. So stereotyping is treating people as if they were the same based on the behavior of one of them. Can you give examples like the ones we gave in terms of, the colored people? All colored people are naughty. The Lozis are stingy. Those examples we're giving can also apply on this one, because we generalize people's behavior in society. So when you stereotype or form a stereotype of any people, you hinder effective communication with them or about them. You jump to conclusion every time you communicate with them because of the stereotype you have about them. Imagine they tell you that Bembas are thieves, and they put you and you believe that stereotype, and they put you in the same room with a Bemba speaking person. You're going to, instead of getting to know them better, you're just going to say, Bembas are thieves. So there's that joke they say, Atamunyamunema beg for Tongas, like should carry your bags. So everywhere you go, you're carrying your money, you're carrying all your valuables. You just feel to carry your clothes everywhere, the whole suitcase. Because you are stereotyping the person you're staying with. You're already looking at them as a thief. Even if that person as an individual was raised right, they don't steal, they don't do all those vices that maybe other Bembas do, or what Bembas are known for. But because you've already taken the stance, you already know that, okay, this particular tribe does this. So you already treat them that way. Are we okay so far?
Yes, madam.
Any questions?
Now you can proceed.
Okay. So another one is lack of interest. So lack of interest refers to not having interest in the subject under discussion. It results on a low or lack of concentration, thereby causing one not to be effective in communicating anything that concerns that subject. So to overcome this barrier, you must cultivate the habit of having interest in various things. Before we go to overcoming it, how many people hated mathematics in school? Just be honest. Maybe in the beginning, maybe in grade 8, who hated mathematics? Or what subject did you hate in school? Anyone?
Science. I hated
Yeah.
science ever since I started going to school.
Did you get to like it at any point?
No, I still hate science.
You still hate science.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Mathematics is my subject, but science, no.
Any other person who hated a particular subject?
Civic education.
Civic education. Why?
Lot of
Notes.
notes.
It's very bulky.
It's very bulky. So now you will not have interest in anything that has to do with civic education because you've already put that barrier there. So every time there's civic education, you're going to say, so it's already to write notes. Science, someone will just, time for science already. I think I won't even go to class. Those who never like mathematics, mathematics is hard. So, that makes you lose interest or not have interest in the subject or in, anything. If you don't like somebody, others, you don't like a lecturer, the moment they walk in a classroom, you even find it very hard to pass their course because the moment they walk in the classroom, you're just there for the register. You're not even there so that you learn, because the moment that person walks into the classroom, you've already lost interest of wanting to listen to them. So you even lock your mind, you switch off. You have selective attention. You start maybe paying attention to your thoughts or your phone or anything else other than the person who has come to teach you. So lack of interest can hinder effective communication. So maybe for instance, you don't like Madame Brew. She walks in your classroom. The first thing you do, you're like, she's already come. So you already switch off your mind. Maybe she didn't even come to teach. She even came to say, no, those who have failed to pay their school fees this semester, please come and register with me. There's a bursary that will be brought to the school and they can help you pay. But you won't even hear any of that. Why? Because you already have a perceived mind about that person. What you know is that person has already come to teach and you don't like the way they teach or you don't like their subject. So what do you end up doing? You end up just ignoring them altogether when you're really in need of that help. So you won't even get the help that you need. So now how do you overcome this type of barrier? So to overcome this barrier, you must cultivate the habit of having interest in various things which get to be talked about. Find out why others have interest in something. Then we have another one called another barrier caused by emotions. So emotions are generally strong feelings. Strong feelings. For example, the feeling of hatred, anger, jealousy, love, and many other feelings that we have towards other people. So these hinder communication when they get out of control. For example, when you're angry, all people around you will notice is that you are angry and not the message you are putting across. Like earlier on, I said, you say the first thing that comes to your mind. Already, that's a sign that this person is annoyed, isn't it? They are not happy with whatever is going on. So now, what will they do? They'll just speak with emotions. Others get to say very, very unpalatable language, you know. They insult and all because of the emotion. There's also emotion of hatred. If somebody you hate comes in front of you and they want to say something, they are saying something actually. If you hate, maybe for instance, a president of a country, of your country, they are trying to tell you something very good. They're having a press conference and they're passing on a message to say all the students should come to State House for a lunch one. And you, because you hate this person, what are you going to do? You will not show up, isn't it? Then when everyone goes there, whoever goes there, they are awarded a contract. That the moment you finish school, you're going to start teaching here or you're going to get a job abroad. But you, because of your hatred, that communication has not reached you and you haven't signed the contract that your friends have signed. You decided to stay away or to shun away from um, what was being communicated because of hate. Also, love can hinder communication. Someone is saying something, you are just lost in their eyes. Instead of listening to what they are saying, you're just looking at them and just saying, this one, I love this person very much. When we get married, I think I'll spoil this person. But that person is actually trying to tell you something to say, don't go there where you're going. There's a snake. Before you realize it, you've already been bitten by a snake because you were lost in your own thoughts. Also, the feeling of jealousy. Anyone to tell us how feeling of jealousy can, or emotion of jealousy can hinder effective communication? Diana and Israel, you haven't said anything, have you?
Madam, I would give an example of
Uh-huh.
maybe you're in a relationship with someone,
Uh-huh.
and then maybe you see him with. Okay, let me give a perfect example. Maybe I see my girlfriend with
Uh-huh.
another guy, and then maybe they were discussing something important or maybe less important, and then she comes to me to tell me something important. I'll react according to what my eyes have seen. So that's
Okay. Okay, thank you. Another person? Diana. Dina. Is Dina not with you, Cedric?
She's here, madam.
I'm sure she's smiling.
Yes.
Diana, what do you think? How does the emotion of jealousy hinder effective communication?
Madam, she's thinking.
Okay, anyway. You keep thinking, all of you, on how the emotion of jealousy hinders effective communication.
Madam, another example I can give is maybe you love someone but you haven't yet approached him or her. and then and then maybe you stop talking to him or her while that person has an important information to pass through to you.
Okay, great. All right. So, how do you overcome such an emotion? You must learn to have self control and learn to stay composed all the time, even in the face of so much emotion. Learn to stay composed. This one is even an encouragement or a word of caution, even away from communication skills, away from lessons. Always stay composed because other people have gotten arrested for not being, because they are known to be impulsive. You act on impulse. You hear of something, you hear that your girlfriend was with a person. Instead of you to go there and ask, the first thing you do is start beating them, beating that person before you even ask. You have already thought that, okay, this person is my girlfriend, sugar daddy, she's cheating on me. You go and beat the man, you beat the woman. Before you know it, you have beaten your father-in-law and the daughter. So if you are composed, you avoid such unnecessary commotion, because you're going to ask the person, oh, you call them, hi babe, where are you? I've seen you at such a place. Who are you with? I'm with my dad. Oh, okay. I'm coming to say hi. You go and just greet them. Oh, I'm her friend from school, blah 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 blah. That's all. But if you just go there and start beating that person, you've lost yourself a woman, because you've beaten your father-in-law. No one will receive lobola from you. Okay, then we have another barrier called personality. So personality becomes a communication barrier when it clashes with another personality. It also hinders communication when it is unpleasant to be to the other party in the communication exchange. There are people who say that I hate that person naturally. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Usually it means maybe they have either the same personality, or they have a personality that you want to possess, and you, for one reason or the other, you cannot possess it. Maybe your self-esteem is very low compared to that person. So that personality is just going to irritate you. Sometimes you just don't like that person's personality. Maybe they are too loud. Like, I don't like this one. Or maybe they are too confident for you. You think this person is too confident. So even when they are talking, you won't even listen to them. You won't even pay attention to what they are saying. When in real sense, they've come to say something very important and beneficial to you. Or it's maybe a word of caution. Remember during the period of COVID, if somebody comes and is trying to tell you how to help yourself, but because you don't like that person, you don't like their personality, you will not hear. What will end up happening? It's you who's going to die, isn't it? They tell you that, okay, this area has a lot of COVID, so don't go there. Then the person who has come to say you're not listening to them because, according to you, you hate them. The next thing that will happen is you're going to get to that place and get COVID. If you even have underlying conditions at that time, what they would always tell us, you'd even die just because you don't like another person's personality. You know. Then how do you overcome this one? You must develop a pleasant or attractive personality. I'm sure you have seen, maybe you've even gone through it, or you have heard that someone was left because of their personality. I couldn't date this person anymore because they have such a bad personality. I'm sure I've heard of such scenarios. So at least just try to have a pleasant or an attractive personality, so that you're on the same footing with a lot of people. Then we have this one called bad attitude. So bad attitude refers to the feeling that one has towards something or someone. When your attitude towards whatever is being communicated or the other party in the communication exchange is bad, your participation in the communication will not be effective. So because you hate Madame Brew, even when she's trying to communicate something to you, even when she's teaching, you'll not understand, because of your bad attitude. You don't like her or something. Or maybe you just have a bad attitude yourself. You call yourself just some maybe weird name, insinuating that you don't like talking to people, you know. So that will make you not understand the lesson. and at the end of the day you go to write maybe an exam, you will not pass it. Why? Because you're not paying attention to what this person was saying. You had bad attitude towards the person who was passing on that information or who was teaching you. So you never understood anything. And when it's time to write exams, you know nothing because of the bad attitude that you gave the person. Any questions so far? Anybody? We are good.
Yeah, we are good.
No question.
Okay. So then we have the second type of barrier. Remember I said there are two barriers. The first group, the ones we are from talking about, these are the ones that are caused by the sender or the receiver, isn't it? Now we look at the barriers that are caused outside the communication cycle. So these are caused by the environment. So difference in status. Oh, so sorry. This one is actually not part of. This one is still part of the first one. Sorry. I don't know how I skipped. I went to another page. I apologize. Sorry. So we still have the ones that are caused, the barriers that are caused by sender or receiver. So this one says difference in status between the sender and the receiver hinders communication. So when any of the two parties fail to come to where the other one is, mostly is maybe you're talking to a rich person, they think that whatever you're saying is useless. Have you been to maybe you guys are still young, you haven't been to funerals setups. Has anyone been to a funeral setup where they are maybe having a meeting or just a discussion before the burial, or as they're preparing for the burial? Has anyone been in that setup? I thought so. So what happens usually is you have people you trust, in the family. So you have maybe this broke uncle who has very good ideas but doesn't have money. Everyone is going to tell him to what? To shut up and wait for that uncle who has money, who maybe may not even have the knowledge, may not even have the idea, but because they are rich, they are going to most likely want to listen to the rich man than the poor man with good ideas. So you listen to the rich man with very bad ideas, with no knowledge of what should happen around funerals. Just give me a second. Sorry, let me just mute for a second.
But still, Bonga
Kambatani.
boy, nikufunze kuga. Hi boy George. Tikufunze.
Hey.
Like iyo ndio magambira mwati.
Nimvera.
Kuwa mani. Umvera.
Nimvera.
So point ya parasti ati point bwanji ya poor mani each what.
Wakamba the status was his bar.
Oh, status barrier. Manje boy nikufunze ko
Umvera.
manje.
Yes.
Na mve in case manje ben drama boy. Ngakambepo bwanji pa
Yeah.
shilo manje.
Punza.
Kupanga budget ya drama.
Panga budget ati pamande zaja nkuku.
Just to keep quiet, believe there.
So I think
Oh,
today
if you don't have money, you're broke. You gotta stay quiet.
Oh, no, my dear.
You don't have money, you gotta stay quiet.
Quiet. We money talks, boy.
Let the people with money do the things. Not you bend drama, then you're busy or see this opening your mouth. Guys,
Shana po.
guys, Nufunseko.
Hey, we're getting you.
Oh, on man, this man in a class.
What?
Eh?
Kwenzeni
Basi
boy.
kabanga madam.
Akaya waiza.
Remember my exams.
So mnangala say no. Oh. My what? Oh, okay. The madam's back.
Yeah. Okay, so just hold on.
Guys,
At point.
but I'm sending a message. Remember my exams or what?
Vanakamba church varimba my exams. Varimba my exams.
My man just update WhatsApp group. That's the whole point of having a WhatsApp group, right?
Oh, namuuza mfano.
Even now, nangala mashadows.
Oh.
Same na kuno boy.
Semanali mbashe WhatsApp group. Madam, remember my exams.
Sibanarembe nurimbe banauza ema.
Barakamba pati ndio wewe.
And like ungala mashadows mbiti nangali.
So sorry to budge in your conversation. Sometimes lecturers are overwhelmed. You're not maybe the only school they are teaching. Now you see, they're in my exams, which is a valid thing. So now that one, blame it on Emmanuel and Dina because their duty is to call and follow up with the lecturer to see what is going on, what is wrong, why is this one not in class. Yes, the lecturer also has to be on top of things to communicate, but they will not communicate again to the whole class. They'll just maybe go and communicate to one person. But Dina and Emmanuel should be very good at sending information to you guys. That's your gap. That's just a bridge you have between the lecturer and yourselves. Is the class rep. So hold your friends responsible for that one, not the lecturer. Because as I've heard that Emmanuel was told, Emmanuel did not tell you guys. Why didn't Emmanuel tell you? Wednesday, last week also, even me, I had communicated with him. Few people said he didn't say. So the right platform to use, if I send a message through Emmanuel or Dina, the right platform to use is to send it on WhatsApp, assuming that everyone has access, or if everyone is in the classroom. When the lecturer is done lecturing, you tell your friends, "Oh, I received a call from this lecturer, ABCD." Are we okay with that?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam. I was in the dark.
Yeah, so you should crucify your friends, not a lecturer. Okay, so we're still talking on difference in status between the sender and the receiver. Then we have also maybe rich people who feel like poor people can't say anything. What can this one tell me? They're just poor. Or maybe we have very educated people who think they can't learn from those who are not educated. Has anyone come across such thing where they say, "Oh, hiyo ndio chabe mfano, ubeve unganiuze." Now that's age. Because you are older than the other person, you think that They can't tell you anything. Has anyone come across such?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
madam. Very true.
But you see,
Very true, madam.
Sorry?
Madam.
Who's talking? The network is a bit bad on your end.
Yes, madam.
At a bunch.
madam,
Mm.
I have a question, madam.
First, but I still asked a question and someone was answering. Before you ask me a question, answer my.
Oh, we have already answered that one to say yes, madam. Much thick. It
Okay.
happened.
And what's the question?
Madam, the question is in case for example, the one we're talking about status, where
Mhm.
people think to say maybe someone under their status cannot advise them, or maybe them getting any help from them. A scenario where
Mhm.
you're planning something at the funeral,
Mhm.
and then, madam, you don't have money, but you're busy saying no. On Monday we eat chicken.
I actually have an example of there's a certain grandma who died in a family. So now she came from Petauke, got sick from Lusaka, and now a certain uncle, without money, was busy saying the funeral should be taken to Petauke, not here. When he was asked how much he was contributing, he says he doesn't have any money. So on that one, I guess. Sorry.
That's what we're talking about. People with the less money should have less ideas.
Well, it depends with what they are saying because on that one, yes, you cannot suggest something that is expensive or that is costly when you're not funding it, you know. But those people know a lot. Like if I asked you here, when you're burying, where does the head face, south or east or west or north? You don't know. But those uncles know. Those are the opinions that you have to get from them. Each person knows something, is good at something,
Madam, does that matter?
Yes, it does. See, you don't know. But that
How?
uncle of
Like
yours who's
they're
broke,
burying the person is dead.
yes, it matters. They actually have a specific place where the head should face, where the legs should be. I don't know why, what, and all that. We always depend on that broke uncle to tell us where to put the head. So there are a lot of traditional things that we may not be aware of, but there's that broke uncle, or maybe that uncle who knows it, or who knows those things that we do not know. Because we all don't know everything. It's not like because you are rich or because you have money, you know everything. And that gives you the audacity to look down on others. No. So, difference, you see already, you're saying maybe that person actually had a very good idea. You shut them down. So they'll let you even do silly things, even things that can have you arrested, because you think that their opinion is unpopular because they don't have money. Okay, so sometimes this is motivated by pride. When one is higher than the other person in status, you feel like they can't tell you anything. That's the one we're talking about, age. What can you tell me about relationships? Me, I've been married for 40 years. When actually there's something that you can actually learn from someone who has just been married for 1 year, that you can even find very useful, even if you've been married for 40 years, you know. So sometimes it can stem from a feeling of inferiority or inadequacy to interact with a person of a higher status. Sometimes it's yourself, you feel like, you've been given an opportunity to talk to Bill Gates. You're scared. You say, I'm too inferior to talk to Bill Gates. What am I going to tell him? What am I going to say to such a powerhouse? Will they even listen to me? So you just don't send the message you want to send altogether. You just decide to keep quiet. They tell you you're going to meet Elon Musk. I'm going to meet Elon Musk. What am I going to talk to him about? I would rather stay home. You've missed what he wanted you for because of your insecurity, because of your fear, or your inferiority complex that the rich don't talk to the poor or the middle class or whatever you categorize yourself as. So you've missed the message that this person wanted to talk to you about. Then the other one is called information overload. So from difference in status between the sender and the receiver, we have information overload. So information overload refers to the amount of information one communicates at a given moment. Too much information over a short period of time can cause a barrier in effective communication. It hinders communication when it is more than what the audience can hear and digest. Imagine we are here learning from 14:30 up to 19:30. You listen the first 2 hours, isn't it? But after 2 hours, you're going to feel overloaded. To say, I've learned too much. Are you even going to remember what you learn in the third and fourth and fifth hour? Are you?
No,
Let's
no,
be honest here. Are you going to remember?
no.
No, madam.
Even in a church, in church, so to say, pastor is preaching 1 hour, 2 hours. Others doze? I've seen people dozing in church.
No, madam.
You will not listen to them, isn't it? You'll get tired. So that's too much information. So you've overloaded these people with too much information. Hence, they stop listening. So it also becomes a barrier when the audience is given too many words, technical words like the jargon words to comprehend rather than accessible language. Instead of me coming to class and talk to you with the language that you all understand, I start now bringing those words that I learned wherever I learned them, or if it's in a dictionary, or if it's when I was doing my master's, instead of me to use just simple language as I'm using now, I start using very big words. Excuse me, that's too much
Madam,
information.
that one is cool, madam.
It's not cool. Knowing big words doesn't make you
Because, madam, you're
intelligent.
showing us this.
Eh?
Madam, I need to brag about my education. Right?
Yes, you need to brag, but look at who you are bragging to. Are they at the same level as you? Do they have the same understanding as you? You brag back, you go home and start telling your mother.
Madam, is that to tell them,
Achan George.
madam, is to tell them go and research. Is to
Hmm.
tell them go and research this word.
Madam, can
Yeah,
I ask
George.
George a question?
Sure, go ahead.
What, George? Let me ask you a question. How tight is your belt?
Listening.
Say it again.
Eh?
Say it again.
Yeah, I know that. You're talking about time, right?
No, I'm asking
Don't
how
jump
tight.
into conclusion. We're just from saying don't jump into conclusion. Answer the question.
It's 1541.
Have you seen? So if the madam starts using complex languages, some of us won't understand. That's the reason she's using
Hello.
simple.
But
George,
but at least you
George
need to
didn't
brag
hear
about
you
your assist,
clearly.
your education. Yeah, I understand. I understand the matter.
Okay. So, in as much as you want to showcase that you are learned, you can do it in simple language and also through your manners and your achievement for others. You can show that you are learned. Actually, speaking big English shows that you went to school just to do research on in the dictionary than to learn and because one thing about education is you must stay humble when you are well educated. You don't have to brag everywhere you are. You want to tell people huge words that they will not understand. Because the reason you're communicating is not to confuse the people you're communicating with, but it's to make the people you're communicating with understand what you're trying to put across. Isn't it? So
It
if
is.
now I'm
Yes,
teaching you and
madam.
I'm using big words, you will not understand what I'm talking about. Instead, you'll just be confused. That's that thing where now you lose interest, lack of interest. You don't have interest in the classroom because someone keeps using big words. And every time they say a big word, you have to write it down. You go and research. You go on Google. So even your concentration will be lost. You
Madam,
start now, huh?
we used to
George.
do that in secondary school, so our teachers were not good people, I think.
They used to
In
make you
secondary school.
research big words.
Yes, yes. Whenever you have a lesson, you need to write down some words and you go and research.
No, that's okay. They're asking you to go and research, but not in a plain communication where I'm just talking to you. From the beginning to the end, I'm using jargon words. You see the difference? There, you are asked to go and research. It's okay. But if he comes to you and he's teaching you and using big words throughout, there's a former minister called George Mpombo. You can even look for him on Facebook. You can't understand one sentence when he means to just say jargon words. Even me, with my masters, I'll pick some words, but some words are like, no, I've never come across this word. Because he uses jargon words, like huge words. He doesn't use understandable language. So that it's okay to use big words. It's okay to want to show that you are learned. You've acquired the lessons. But it's not okay for people who are around you not to understand what you are teaching, especially in a classroom setup. You have to use language that everyone will understand, because your aim is to teach, not to confuse or to shine or to show off. That's not the motive. Is that why we're having class today, so that I show off my what I learned, or that I have a master's? That would be a misplaced priority for me. My priority is to make you understand what we learn, and when you do, you should apply it in society. So now, if I'm giving you jargon words all the time, you're going to be lost. Okay, George. I like the interaction, nonetheless. So now the other one is called resistance to change. Resistance to change. So this one results from always wanting to keep the status quo for no reason. Accordingly, anything that involves change in the way things are done in the organization, for example, would not be accepted. Okay, one thing about us human beings is we are scared of change. We fear change all the time. Trust me. You are told to say that Lusaka Goldsmith University is now going to be, the campus is going to be in town. You are going to go like, why town? Wait, just here in Woodlands it was okay because Pick and Pay is near. We have Nadia's here. Nadia is near. We have everything around us, we have photocopying places. We have even our friends nearby. Why should we be taken to town? So you're going to resist change because you want to keep the status quo. You want to keep the people around you. You want to keep the things around you. You don't want change, you know. You don't feel like changing what is there to something new. You just want that same thing the way it is, that it should continue being the way it is. You're scared. You don't know what will be of the new place, whether they're going to be it's going to be noisy, whether it's going to be quiet, you know. Instead of looking for the good thing, town is central and all, the only thing you are going to look for are just those reasons that are negative. So any communication which is to bring change would be resisted or handled ineffectively. So if whatever they want to tell you what you need to do, you're going to be very hesitant. You have to think through, do I really have to do this? Should really this be done in that way? You have a lot of thoughts around the change because you're just resistant to change. You don't want to change there. So even whatever communication that they're trying to put across will not be of any use to you because you're already negative about it. And I think in most scenarios, when change is communicated to you, there are very few times that you'll be happy there and then. Even when they tell you that, you're going to go to the UK, you'll be scared. You'll be excited, yes, but you have more resistance. Say, so now I have to change the way I dress. Anzaye wansima ka 5 fingers on and nikasiya. So I'll never see this and this and that. So what will happen to my girlfriend? What will happen to my boyfriend if I go that far? I know of people who have cancelled going to study abroad because of a relationship. They're busy saying, this marriage will not work if I'm abroad. I'd rather be in Zambia so that my marriage works better. So you have a lot of reasons that you put, negative connotations that you're going to bring across, just so that you resist the change that is coming to you. Maybe later on is when you're going to accept, say, okay, fine, let me go because of ABCD. Now you look at the brighter part or the better things. So to overcome this barrier, one must be open-minded and be ready to accept change as it comes or when it is necessary to do so. Resistance to change can also be related to being dogmatic, which is a state of not being willing to accept alternative beliefs because you think what you believe is true. Equally, to avoid being dogmatic, one must be open-minded. So mostly just be open-minded to overcome this barrier. The last one is contradictory non-verbal expressions. Contradictory non-verbal expressions. So these are expressions that come through body language. Remember the ones we talked about under visual. They always show how sincere you are every time you communicate. When you say one thing and they say something else, it is an indication that you are being insincere. As a result, your audience will be discouraged and their listening will be hindered, thereby causing the communication to be ineffective. In simpler terms, You know how you say yes in Zambia? You nod your head. How do you do it in agreement? Anyone to turn on the video and do the way we do it in Zambia when you're saying yes, when you're nodding in agreement. Uh-huh. Why are you hiding your face? Actually, I need you to do it because you're the ones who watch Z World, so you will know the other way. How do you nod in agreement in Zambia? Uh-huh. And how do you do it in India? Like that. Exactly. Even if your mic is muted, but I could see what you're trying to put across. So if they are contradictory, if I say yes in Zambia, but the way the yes, that is the one you have said, the nodding in agreement for in India, it's more like you're saying no, isn't it? So to overcome this, you must learn to be sincere and tell the truth. So the next one is communication barriers caused by factors outside the communication circle. So this one, we're going to look at this one on Friday. And most likely Friday, we're going to, unless otherwise something comes up or I don't feel well, I intend to come, we do a physical class on Friday. Is that okay? I'm talking to myself.
Oh no, madam. As for me, maybe I'll just attend online.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll do both. If I come, we'll do both online and physical. So
Madam,
those who
madam,
yes, George. George, I can't hear you.
madam.
Hello.
Hello,
You're saying?
hello,
I can hear you. What
madam. I
what
heard
are you
about the
saying?
presentation about the advantages of e-commerce. I heard
Sorry.
uh, Emmanuel informed me about the presentation of advantages of e-commerce.
Boy, she's not the one. She's not the one.
She's not the one.
Dina and Emmanuel, you never sent me the email address for me to send the notes.
My bad.
It's okay. Dina, I should tell Emmanuel and you between you and Emmanuel, one of you should send me the notes, the email address where I should send the notes to. Dina.
Oh,
Gochinika paka muntu kako.
Dina.
Yes, madam.
I'm saying I need an email address for you or Emmanuel where I should send the notes, then you share with your friends.
All right.
So please text that. Then I also asked to say I need you to tell me when the presentation is due. What date is the presentation due?
25 October.
Okay, all right. So we'll do the lesson even later on. It's okay. Okay, have a blessed day. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you for today's class. We'll meet again
same,
on
madam.
Friday. Thank you.
Okay, madam. Take care. Guys, you.